Shadows in the rain. It was a stormy afternoon in Seattle when the call came in. "Detective Raven, we have an emergency," chirped Tara, my trusty assistant. "Hello. Tara, what's going on?" I responded, feeling a knot tighten in my stomach. "I just received a distressing message from a woman. She said she's trapped and in danger." The sound of panic in her voice sent shivers down my spine. They are coming for me. Please help me." And just like that, the line went silent. Being a seasoned detective, I knew I had to act fast. I quickly reached out to my team, Sophia, our tech guru, Jason, experienced investigator, and my reliable field officer, Mia. We gathered in the conference room, and Sophia's fingers flew across her keyboard, tracing the source of the call. "The signal is coming from an abandoned warehouse near Pike Place Market," she informed us, looking grave. "It's a bit of a red flag. And the voice, it's from a girl named Renee Monroe. She was reported missing last week." My heart raced as I pieced together the information. "All right, we have no time to waste. Let's notify the Seattle PD and grab our gear. We need to find this girl." We quickly assembled our equipment, but there was one personal matter I needed to address before we left. My grandmother, who had been battling illness for years, was in the hospital, and it weighed heavily on my mind. Upon entering her hospital room, her frail smile warmed my heart. "Raven, my brave detective," she said, her voice soft but strong. "You'd better come back safe." I nodded, choking back a lump in my throat. "I promise, Grandma. We're going to help a girl in trouble." She squeezed my hand gently, her eyes reflecting her unwavering belief in me. "And don't forget to love with all your heart," she whispered, sending a surge of strength through me. As we arrived at the warehouse, tension filled the air. It felt eerie, almost as if the very walls carried whispers of long-buried secrets. After a thorough sweep, we discovered nothing but shadows and dust, yet Sophie's reconnaissance skills bore fruit. "There's a hidden cellar beneath this floor. We need to check it out." Our hearts pounded as we descended into the darkness, flashlight beams slicing through the gloom. Suddenly, we heard faint whimpers coming from a corner. As we approached, there was Renee, visibly shaken but alive. "You came," she exclaimed, relief washing over her face. I rushed to untie her, my mind racing with questions. "Who did this? Who hurt you?" Tears streamed down her cheeks as she spoke. "It was my dad. He couldn't accept me for who I am." At that moment, it made sense why my instincts had peaked around her father. "We need to get you out of here, Renee. You're safe now." As we led her outside into the fresh air, the storm began to clear, hinting at the light of redemption. Yet my team and I had to confront the monster responsible for her suffering. We returned to her home, where we found her father, Jason Monroe, pacing nervously. "Where's Renee? What have you done?" he barked. Before he could react further, the police arrived, and I stepped forward. "Mr. Monroe, I need you to come with us for questioning regarding your daughter's disappearance." "You won't take her from me," he shouted, but it was already too late. The evidence pointed right to him. His controlling demeanor had forced Renee to feel like she needed to hide who she was. As he was taken away, I turned to Renee. "You're free to be yourself now. Embrace who you are, and never let shame dictate your happiness." She nodded, a newfound spark glimmering in her eyes. As we drove back to headquarters, Mia turned to me, a thoughtful look on her face. "You okay, Raven?" That was intense. I took a deep breath, emotion swirling. "I'm just glad we got her back. Every girl deserves love and acceptance, no matter who she loves." Mia smiled softly, her hand brushing against mine, and I felt a warmth that transcended our working relationship. Maybe, amidst the shadows of crime and fear, a new light was beginning to shine. As we arrived back at the station, the atmosphere was a mix of relief and tension. Renee was getting the medical attention she needed, and I felt a deep sense of satisfaction knowing we had saved her. However, my mind kept drifting to her father's harsh words and the chokehold of shame he had tried to impose on her. I couldn't shake the feeling that this case was far from over. Over the next few days, Renee stayed with her maternal aunt who had flown in from Chicago. The gentle kindness of her aunt helped ease the restless soul I could see in Renee's eyes. Our team kept a close watch on her father, Jason, who had been arrested but was out on bail pending charges. The more I learned about him, the more I wanted to ensure Renee was safe, not just physically but emotionally as well. One afternoon, while reviewing the case files in my office, I received a message from Mia. "Hey Raven, can we talk?" "In private." When she arrived, she closed the door behind her, her expression serious. "Is everything okay?" I asked, noticing the concern etched on her face. "It's about Renee," she started, her voice soft. "I think we need to reach out to her and help her, beyond just the case." I nodded, intrigued. "What do you have in mind?" "Support groups," she suggested. "There are organizations that help LGBTQ+ youth who have faced discrimination or trauma. We can connect her with people who understand what she's going through." I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. Mia had a way of seeing opportunities for healing where I sometimes saw only work. "That's a brilliant idea. I want her to know she's not alone in this." With a plan taking shape, we reached out to local support groups, arranging for Renee to attend meetings where she could meet others with shared experiences. When we presented the idea to her, Renee's gaze filled with uncertainty. "Will they accept me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Of course, they will," I reassured her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "They'll understand what you've been through, and they want to see you thrive. It's a safe space full of love and acceptance." A few weeks passed, and the frequency of Renee's smiles increased. I watched as she slowly began to find her footing. She attended the support group sessions regularly, and each time she returned from one, she appeared more vibrant, more at ease with herself. One evening, Renee called me, frantic. "Detective Raven. My dad is here. He's threatening my aunt. I'm scared. Mia and I are on our way. Stay inside and lock the doors." Mia and I raced to Renee's aunt's house. Upon arriving, I spotted Jason Monroe pacing nervously at the end of the driveway, his face flushed with anger. We approached with caution, and he turned to us, his eyes wild. "Get away from my daughter," he shouted, taking a step forward. "Mr. Monroe," I called, trying to defuse the situation. "We're here to help Renee. No one is going to hurt her." "Help? You think this is help? She's mine. You can't take her away from me." His desperation was palpable, but I could also sense the deeper fear, the fear of losing control over his daughter's life. "Let's talk about this," Mia said calmly as she edged closer, trying to create a connection. "We can help you, too." For a moment he seemed to consider it, but the moment was fleeting. He shook his head violently and turned, running towards the back of the house. I yelled for Mia to stay back as I sprinted after him. He dashed into the woods by the property line, and I chased him, my heart racing. "Jason! Stop!" But he didn't. The rain began to pour, making the ground slippery beneath my feet. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears, and just as I was gaining ground, he slipped, tumbling down a small hill. I took a breath, hesitated only for a second, and rushed after him. When I reached him at the bottom, he was sitting in a puddle, mud staining his jeans. "What have I done?" he murmured, bewildered. There was something deeper in his voice, regret, perhaps fear of his own actions. I crouched down, keeping my distance. "What you've done is unacceptable, but it doesn't have to define you. Let's talk about this. Renee is safe, and she needs you to come to terms with who she is." As the rain fell around us, the barrier between us began to dissolve. "I just wanted her to be normal, like me," he said, finally breaking down, tears mingling with rainwater. "Normal is about being true to oneself." I extended my hand to him, unsure if he would take it, but he did. Help her embrace who she is. You can start over, but you have to want it. Don't let your fear keep you chained to old ways of thinking. Afterward, with the help of law enforcement, Jason began attending counseling sessions to confront his prejudices and the way he had treated his daughter. And while it would be a long path toward understanding, it was a start. Renee eventually began to flourish, participating in local LGBTQ+ events and using her story to advocate for others facing similar struggles. As she reclaimed her life, I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. The more time I spent alongside Mia, the more our professional relationship evolved. There was an undeniable connection growing between us, one filled with warmth and understanding. One night, after wrapping up another case, Mia leaned against my desk, a soft smile on her lips. You know, Raven, you've really made a difference in Renee's life. I met her gaze, feeling a flutter in my chest. We did it together, I replied, the warmth between us growing. I know this is a lot, but thank you for being you. For being so committed to helping others, she said, her eyes lingering on me as if searching for something unspoken. In that moment, the door seemed to swing open not just for healing, but for new beginnings. I took a deep breath and allowed myself to feel the warmth and possibility of what lay ahead, for both Renee and for myself. Thanks, Mia. I couldn't do this without you, I smiled, feeling a bond forming that transcended mere friendship. As we stood there, the night lay ahead, filled with promise, just like Renee's new life. Chapter 3, New Beginnings. The weeks following our emotional confrontation with Jason Monroe were transformative, not just for Renee but for Mia and me as well. Renee settled into her new routine of therapy sessions and support groups, finding strength in the community around her. The light in her eyes grew brighter each day, and it felt as though I was witnessing the birth of a young woman who was ready to embrace her true self. Meanwhile, Mia and I had moved closer both personally and professionally. Her laughter had a way of lighting up the office, and our conversations had taken on a more intimate tone. It felt as though we were building something significant, the foundation of friendship that was beginning to blossom into something deeper. One rainy afternoon, while working on a new case involving local graffiti artists, I received a text from Renee. It was a photo of her attending an LGBTQ+ community event, surrounded by friends. Look at me, she wrote. I finally feel like I belong. Thank you for believing in me. I smiled at the image. Her happiness radiated through the screen, and I felt a swell of pride for her bravery. I replied quickly, You're amazing, Renee. Keep shining. Red heart. Mia popped her head into my office, curiosity in her eyes. What's got you smiling like that? Just got a message from Renee. She's doing so well, better than I could have hoped. That's wonderful to hear, she said, leaning against the doorframe. You've really made a difference in her life. Couldn't have done it without your support, I replied, meeting her gaze. You've always been there for me. The atmosphere shifted, and I felt an electric tension fill the space between us. Carefully, I stepped away from my desk, closing the distance. Mia, there's something I want to talk about. Okay, she said, her voice a soft whisper. I took a deep breath. I know we've been focused on the cases and Renee's recovery, but I can't shake this feeling that there's more to us than just colleagues. She searched my eyes, her expression softening. I've felt it too, Raven. My heart raced, and I stepped even closer, suddenly aware of how easily I could close the gap between us. Then let's explore it together. I care about you. To my surprise, a smile spread across her face, and she reached out, letting her fingers lightly graze my arm. I'd like that. Before I could process my joy, a voice interrupted the moment. Detective Cassidy. We need you in the briefing room. Detective Carter, one of my colleagues, waved from the doorway. I let out a frustrated sigh but followed him, glancing back at Mia who shrugged, her eyes sparkling with amusement. Once in the briefing room, I quickly focused on the new case. As the team discussed recent burglaries in the city, my mind wandered, mulling over my conversation with Mia. I had no doubt that what we shared could blossom into something beautiful, but right now, our focus had to be on the job. After the meeting wrapped up, I found Mia waiting outside the door, leaning casually against the wall. "Seems like we're needed for a little while longer," I said with a teasing sigh. Mia laughed lightly. "Just think of it as warming up for what's to come." Our chemistry was palpable, and I felt as if every lingering glance fueled the connection building between us. Beyond the ongoing cases, we shared moments, coffee breaks that turned into deep discussions, laughter escaping during long nights on calls, and the way the small brushes of our hands sent jolts through my entire being. That Friday, with Renee's recovery thriving, I decided to take a leap. We planned a casual outing after work, a chance to unwind and enjoy the evening together. As we strolled along Pike Place Market, the vibrant colors of the stalls mingled with the dusky evening light. "What do you think?" Mia asked as we passed by a stall selling beautiful trinkets. "Should we find something for Renee to celebrate her progress?" "Absolutely," I said, losing myself in the moment. Selecting a colorful bracelet, I held it up for her to inspect. Something handcrafted to remind her of how unique she is. "Perfect choice," Mia grinned, and I found myself wishing the evening wouldn't end. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. As we walked towards a small cafe, I felt that magnetic pull again. I reached for her hand, our fingers intertwining hesitantly, but Mia squeezed mine in reassurance. "It feels nice, doesn't it?" she said, her voice low and sincere. "Yeah," I said. "Like everything is falling into place." After a light meal, we settled outside at a small table, watching as the crowd bustled by. The air was electric with anticipation, and I took the plunge. "Mia, I want to know more about you. What's your story?" Her brow furrowed slightly, and I could see a flicker of vulnerability cross her face. "Well, my mom was a cop too. I grew up surrounded by stories of brave women. I always admired the work we do." "That's amazing," I said, truly impressed. "What made you want to continue that legacy?" She hesitated, as if mulling over how to distill a lifetime of influence into a few words. "I guess I love helping people, you know. And I wanted to be a voice for those who feel unheard, and who might feel like they don't belong." "Your passion shines through," I responded, feeling even more drawn to her honesty. "You've definitely made a difference in my life." Her cheeks flushed a lovely shade of pink, and I leaned closer, intrigued by the depth of her story. "And I want to continue to make a difference, if not just in this profession but personal life too." "That's a beautiful aspiration," I whispered, my heart pounding. "Can we make a promise?" "Sure," she said, her eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that made me breathless. "Let's keep holding on to each other, both as partners at work and, whatever this is between us," I said, feeling vulnerability threatening to wash over me. A radiant smile broke across her face, full of warmth and understanding. "Absolutely. Together, we'll face whatever comes our way." As I sat there, my heartbeat matching the rhythm of the city around us, I knew this was just the beginning. We had both emerged from shadows and shame into the embrace of understanding and acceptance. And with people like Renee lighting the way, I felt certain that the future was brighter than any of us could have imagined. That night, we left the cafe hand in hand, ready to face the new challenges that awaited us, both as detectives and as partners navigating not just the mysteries of our work, but the mysteries unfolding in our hearts. Chapter 4: Crossing Lines. The weeks turned into months, and as the fall leaves began to scatter across Seattle, so did the barriers that had once kept Mia and me at bay. Our partnership at work flourished alongside our budding relationship, and we found ourselves spending almost every spare moment together. Renee thrived as well, becoming a beacon of inspiration not only for herself but also for others in the community. She had taken on a mentorship role at the local LGBTQ+ center, guiding other young women through their own struggles, and her confidence grew each day. I admired her resilience and was proud to help nurture that strength, knowing that Mia had been equally pivotal in her journey. One crisp afternoon, as we sat in a small park reviewing case files and discussing Renee's next mentoring session, I noticed Mia's brow furrowed in concentration. What's on your mind? I asked, putting down my coffee and focusing on her. You know how we sometimes check in on Renee's father to keep an eye on him, she said, avoiding my gaze. Well, I heard some troubling rumors the other day. Rumors? He's been spotted at a bar downtown, drinking heavily and saying some pretty alarming things about Renee, she replied, her voice tinged with concern. I think he might be spiraling back into a dark place. Instinctively, my stomach dropped. We can't let him jeopardize everything Renee has worked for. We need to look into this. Mia nodded, her eyes fierce with determination. Do you want to follow up on this together? I know it's a delicate situation. Of course, I replied, my thoughts racing. We won't let him intimidate her or threaten her newfound freedom. We finished our coffees and headed over to the bar where Jason had been seen. The atmosphere was dimly lit, filled with hushed conversations and the clinking of glasses. We approached the counter cautiously, scanning the room for him. As we moved through the crowd, I couldn't shake the sense that this place was far removed from the work we did, the sense of purpose we felt when we were helping people like Renee. Mia caught my eye and nodded toward a back corner, where a disheveled figure sat alone, nursing a drink. There he is, she whispered, frowning. Let's approach carefully. As we drew closer, Jason's slumped posture became painfully apparent. He was a shadow of the man I'd met weeks prior, fraught with guilt and anger. I took a deep breath, channeling my determination as we approached. Mr. Monroe, I said firmly but calmly, gaining his attention. What do you want? He mumbled, his words slurred. Mia and I are here because we're concerned about Renee, I replied, keeping my tone steady. I understand you're going through a rough time, but we can help you. He scoffed, glancing back at his drink as if it were his only companion. Help. You think I want your help? You think I deserve help? You need to stop drinking, Mia interjected, her voice sharp yet caring. This isn't the solution. You're hurting yourself and your daughter. Jason's eyes flickered with anger. What do you know about it? You're just kids playing detective. We know that you're at risk of losing everything, including the chance to mend things with Renee, I replied, cutting through his defenses. This isn't about us, it's about being a father. He laughed bitterly, raising his glass in mock toast. A father? How can I be a father when I've failed miserably? She'll never forgive me. I softened my approach, remembering my own tumultuous relationship with my father. It's never too late to try and reconnect, but you have to want to make the effort. Renee needs you. For a moment, Jason looked almost vulnerable, his bravado faltering as emotion trickled through his facade. And what if I don't know how to fix things? What if I don't even deserve that opportunity? Mia stepped forward, her eyes filled with sincerity. That's why we're here. We can help you find resources, get you support through counseling. We know it won't be easy, but nothing worthwhile ever is. His expression wavered, and for the first time, there was a hint of sincerity. Maybe I need to talk to someone. Yes, finally. I felt a glimmer of hope. We can help you set that up. But you need to commit to change, Jason. As we talked to him about finding help and resources, I could sense the shift within him. It was as though a spark of determination flickered to life, but ones that still needed tending. After agreeing to meet regularly and attend therapy sessions aimed at repairing the father-daughter relationship, we walked out of the bar into the fresh autumn air, the city around us busy yet somehow less overwhelming than before. Do you think he'll actually make the change? Mia asked, glancing sideways at me as we headed back to my car. I hope so, I replied. Renee deserves to have her father in her life, even if their journey won't be easy. Mia smiled, her face glowing with warmth. You were incredible in there, Raven. You really poured your heart into reaching him. I shrugged, trying to dismiss the compliment, but inside, I felt a blush creeping to my cheeks. I just want what's best for Renee. And thank you for backing me up. We drove back to the office in a comfortable silence, the weight of our previous conversation leaving us feeling lighter. As we arrived, I glanced at Mia and decided to seize the moment. Would you want to grab dinner tonight? No police talk, just us. Her eyes lit up, a contagious smile spreading across her face. I'd love that. As we drove through the vibrant streets of Seattle, I felt a sense of calm wash over me, knowing we were building something meaningful. Our connection was blossoming, and as glimmers of the downtown lights danced in the rearview mirror, I realized I was more eager than ever to dive deeper, not just into the work we were doing but also the relationship we were cultivating. Later that night, sitting across from each other at a cozy Italian restaurant, we shared laughter over plates of pasta and glasses of wine. It was a reprieve from the intensity of our jobs, a space where we could simply be ourselves. As I watched Mia animatedly recount a funny moment from our last case, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. I wanted every moment with her to be cherished. Mia, I began, searching for the right words, thank you for being my partner in every way. You've made a difference in not just my work but in my life. Her gaze softened, and I saw the sincerity in her eyes. I feel the same, Raven. You inspire me every day. Then, without thinking, I reached across the table, intertwining my fingers with hers. Let's keep this momentum going, together. Absolutely, she agreed, squeezing my hand gently as the night air filled with the warmth of possibility. That evening, we walked outside under a canopy of stars, the chill in the air marked by the excitement of new beginnings before us. I felt hopeful about Renee's path, and invigorated about the journey I was embarking on with Mia. In the intersection of our professional and personal lives, I had a feeling we were headed somewhere extraordinary. Chapter 5, A New Chapter. As autumn wore on, Renee's life continued to flourish, and so did the bond between Mia and me. We found ourselves navigating the complexities of both our relationship and our work with a sense of ease. Each day brought new challenges, but with those challenges came the sweet thrill of growth. Renee was thriving in her mentorship role, hosting weekly meetings filled with laughter, encouragement, and mutual support. One evening, she called Mia and me excitedly to invite us to a celebration of identity gathering at the LGBTQ Center, where she would be speaking about her journey. You have to come. I want everyone to see how amazing you both are, she gushed. Of course, we'll be there, I assured her, my heart swelling with pride for the young woman she had become. The night of the event arrived, and the atmosphere at the community center was alive with positivity. Colorful decorations adorned the walls, and the sounds of laughter and upbeat music filled the air. As we entered, I spotted Renee across the room, beaming under the warm lights. She waved us over with an eagerness that made my heart flutter. Look who finally made it, she exclaimed, pulling us into a tight hug. Mia smiled, her face lit up like the room around us. You look incredible, Renee. Are you ready? I'm so ready. I can't believe how far I've come, she said, her voice brimming with excitement and purpose. Just before her speech, I took a moment to appreciate the transformation she had undergone. Renee was standing tall, radiating a sense of confidence and acceptance. It reminded me of my own journey, how Mia had helped me navigate my struggles, too. No matter what happens out there, Mia said softly, squeezing my hand, she's going to shine. When Renee stepped onto the stage, the room fell silent. The spotlight illuminated her, and I could see her heart beating just beneath the surface. She took a deep breath and began to speak. Hi, everyone. My name is Renee Monroe, and I'm so thankful to see all of you here tonight. I want to share my story and remind you all that it's okay to be who you are. As she spoke, weaving through her struggles and triumphs, I felt tears prick my eyes. Her vulnerability and resilience resonated deeply with everyone in the room. She recounted the dark days but emphasized the importance of community, love, and acceptance. She mentioned her father's progress and how everyone, including us, had played a role in her journey. When she sat down to a thunderous applause, Mia and I rushed to her side. You were phenomenal, I said, pulling her into another embrace. And so brave, Mia added, her eyes glistening with pride. You inspired everyone in that room, Renee. Thank you, she said, practically bouncing with excitement. I couldn't have done it without you too. Amid the celebrations, I looked at Mia, and once again, my heart raced as I realized how fortunate I was to have her in my life. Not only was I able to witness Renee's transformation, but I understood this was a pivotal moment for us all, a celebration of acceptance and love. As the night continued, we mingled with supportive friends and community members. Finally, huddled together in a quiet corner of the venue, I felt inspired to share my feelings with Mia. Can we talk? I asked, leading her away from the bustling crowd. Of course, she replied, her smile warm and inviting. Finding a secluded spot, I took a deep breath. Mia, I know our journey together has been beautiful, but I want to make it official. I want us to explore what this means beyond partnership. I want you in my life, fully, no reservations. Mia's eyes widened, and her breath caught in her throat. Raven, Before you say anything, I interrupted gently, I just want to tell you that you've changed everything for me. You make me want to be better, at work, in my life, and in love. I want to build something with you, something lasting. Tears brimmed in her eyes, and she stepped closer, her hand finding mine. Raven, I feel the same way. I want to be with you, together as partners. You inspire me. You always have. In that moment of honesty, surrounded by the warmth of community, I pulled her into a passionate kiss. It felt like the natural progression of everything we had built together, a melding of two lives into one new chapter. When we finally pulled away, our foreheads touching, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. So, it's official then? Yes, absolutely, she beamed, sealing our promise with another kiss. The night continued, brimming with laughter and joy as we celebrated the love we had cultivated together. We danced under the lights, wrapped in the warmth of acceptance and community. A few weeks later, we were all back in the office, moving forward with our work. Renee continued to find her voice and support more young people struggling with their identities. Jason Monroe had also committed to therapy, slowly mending his relationship with his daughter. While we had resolved the crisis, it was clear that the journey was far from over. Renee admitted one night during our weekly check-in, "It's hard sometimes, you know. But I feel like I have the strength to face it all now." "And we're right beside you," Mia said, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. As the new year approached, it was time to celebrate the progress we all had made together. To kick off the celebration, I suggested a weekend getaway for the three of us, a chance to rejuvenate and reflect on our journey. Renee's face lit up. That sounds amazing. I can finally show you both my favorite hiking trails. I can't wait to spend some time together, just us. With plans set in motion, I couldn't help but feel an exhilarating sense of anticipation for what lay ahead for all of us. The experiences we had shared forged an unbreakable bond of love and acceptance. As we headed into this new chapter, I knew that life would always present challenges. But with Renee's spirit shining brighter than ever and the love Mia and I shared, I felt confident that we could handle anything that came our way. Together we'd face our futures with courage, forever free to be our truest selves.